Hello, everyone. We do live in interesting times. If you look around, as Mars moved back into Cancer, retrograded back into Cancer, and the nodes change signs, we see a lot of things happening in the world. One major news was that Meta will stop its how do you call that, fact-checking principles, which was plain censorship. And of course, they always censor the patriots, never the leftists, interestingly enough. And all kinds of other things are also very promising. For instance, that some of the big major American corporations will stop their practice of DI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which was the stupidest, idiotic practice, uh, saying that if you are a member of I don't know, a type of minority, then you have certain rights. And it's even the rights is outrageous. I think we people are equal. Just because you have a different color of skin, I don't think you have more rights than I do. Sorry. If you don't like it, too bad, because we were created equal by God. What was really disheartening and actually very dangerous was the fact that they hired people by not by their credentials, not by their knowledge or expertise, but according to either their skin color or their sexual orientation or the fact that they had some kind of minor problem. That was scary, and hopefully this practice will cease. And although we do not yet have the exact Uranus-Neptune sextile, which will bring a new ideology into the world, something that will do away with the this woke idiocy. It's not yet there, but already just by the fact that the nodes changed, we see the signs. On another note, this particular full moon, the Cancer full moon, which should be a very mild and nice full moon, is very militant and very dangerous because it's on Mars. And if you look around, you see those horrible, first of all, the horrible fighting and also those horrible fires. And my heart goes out for the people in California because there are terrible news. And I mean, I saw pictures and it really looks like a bomb, a bombarded place, and it's really horrible. And I just hope that it's not again human stupidity that caused this, because there was in the news that the reason why they didn't have enough water for so the firefighters was because for some endangered fish species they were left out or something, which is really horrible. And really, I do hope that by the time the world myth will change, by the time it changes, we will understand that this green agenda is horrible. And when you have an agenda that has no human being in its center, it won't work. That's the problem. Okay, so having said that, let's take a look at the full moon energy, which will be exact on January 13th at 10:27 p.m. London time. And when I looked at the energy pattern, not just the fact that the moon is on Mars, uh, and but there's a very nasty T square with Eris. This is what the flavor, this is what I gave him, this particular space-time moment: combative, chaotic, Cancer full moon. I did this for the alliteration. Of course, I love alliteration, or shall we call it freedom loving? That's the positive side of it. And if you take a look at the London chart, you will see that the angles are at 0 degrees of the cardinal, so it's a very decisive moment. The nodes, which have just changed signs a day earlier, are on the ascendant-descendant angle, with Neptune there on the descendant, and also the vertex, which is the point of no free will. So those are the main features. And as you can see, we will soon have a Saturn-Venus conjunction. Actually, it is now applying. So anyone who is born after the full moon for the next 10 days, we'll have this conjunction. And again, now it's a blocking conjunction, but 5-6 days later, it will be by the 20th, I think, it will be a 19th or 20th, something like that. It will be a supportive conjunction. So Saturn will be behind Venus, which is a much better energy pattern than this blocking one. Let's take a look at the cardinal T-square, which is the main feature here, which is kind of dissolved by Uranus and Neptune. But this is what it is. First of all, this moon is ruling the midheaven. And the Sun-Moon opposition is in Cancer Capricorn, of course, in the 4th and 10th houses. So quite prominent, very strong position. And full moons are always about illumination as well. And the moon, as I said, is ruling the midheaven. It's very strong. Usually, or generally speaking, Cancer full moons are not very bad, not very negative, simply because the moon is very strong. The sun will soon move into Aquarius, which it is detriment, and the reason why it is detriment, of course, because it's the coldest type, but now it's the darkest period, and soon it will be the coldest. So the sun really doesn't have too much strength. I heard this morning that there was a -degree, so it was freezing within London, and this is not occurring many times in the throughout winter. Anyhow, so the sun is opposite Mars. There will be an exact opposition in maybe 3 days. I think it's going to be the 16th. But it's already there. Actually, you can still see the Mars on the eastern horizon. And of course, this Mars is retrograde and out of bounds. Every time a planet is opposite the sun, it's usually retrograde. That's how we can observe it from the Earth plane. So the Mars is very, very bright at the moment. And if we look at it from the divorce situation, we could say that the ruler, the sun, is opposite its general, so they are clashing, and the people are behind the general, the military people, and not the leaders. So that's quite interesting. This T-square is also made by the Eris Hygeia conjunction. Eris, it means drastically altered outward circumstances, and Hygeia is the asteroid of hygiene, of safe spaces, of cleanliness. So actually, they are diagonally opposed energy patterns. They actually describe situations that one is order and the other one is chaos, and they are squaring the full moon. So it's a very militant, very harsh energy that they are creating. Luckily, they are dissolved in a way because there's a Mars-Neptune trine. It's exact. And Mars-Neptune is about the Grail knight, the knight in shining armor. I'm fighting for a noble cause. And the Sun-Uranus trine is one of the so-called success aspects, and it brings you success through either things ruled by Uranus, but also technology and vibration and of course IT and all kinds of stuff, and of course astrology. So the Sun-Uranus trine is a beautiful trine, and I put there for you to watch because the exact Mars Eris square will be only on January the 20th, a day before the Sun Pluto conjunction, interestingly enough. So that's the energy pattern. And we do have a couple of transcendental celestial objects. On the sun, you have Regina, the queen, Arahot, which is an Indian archetype. Overcast skies is the translation of this name. And in karmic astrology, it's a TNO that describes sudden revelations that were hidden so far for quite a long time, and all of a sudden it clears out and we understand something very, very clearly. I will leave the moon for the last because I want you to show your name. On Mars, you have Rome, the empire, and Procyon, which is Alpha Canis minor, sorry. Actually, Canis major and minor are two dogs, little dog and big dog. and they are not exactly close to each other, but they are linked to the Orion myth. So they are Orion's dogs, so to speak. And they could form one constellation. For some reason, it's really two, probably because they are quite apart from each other. So actually, Procyon symbolizes the fact that uh, it's a very bright star. It's a zero magnitude star, but there is a brighter one near it, Sirius. And in comic astrology, it's a world where we need to learn that if we excel, even if you think we are the very best in something, and we have brilliant abilities and capacities and knowledge and skills, someone might overshine us, and we need to live with it. So that's Procyon. And on Uranus, you have the same three energies that in the nodal axis energy change: Hera, Lampo, and Capulus, which is Beta Perseus. And on Aries Hygeia, you have Semele and Felicitas, which again kind of symbolize the same opposition, the same polar opposite that Aries and Hygeia, because Semele, she was the lover of Zeus, who was foolish enough to ask him to show his true form. And the true form of Zeus, of course, is the lightning. And poor Semele is enlightened, of course. Well, it's kind of sad because it means fire, and of course there are huge fires in California, which is really scary. But actually, Semele in comic astrology represents the innocent and stupid archetype who wants to know and dies of this knowledge, who doesn't know how to avoid it. And Felicitas, it represents the goddess of good fortune and happiness. So again, they are polar opposites if you consider that. And if you look at the moon, you have Archimedes, the how to call it, explorer, not explorer, someone who has a new idea. Explorer could be, yes. Cybele, who is a love and war goddess, and also the one of the great mother goddesses. Spartacus, who was a slave and he revolted and dies as a result. And Spartacus usually describes the situation where you can no longer wait. It's so bad. It's so intolerable that you need to act, and you might very well die in the process, but you still can't help it. You need to act. And Euronome, we are going to look at her because she's very interesting. And Pollux, of course, is the beta star of Gemini, which quite funnily is now much brighter than the alpha star Castor, and they represent the two forms of the artist. One is the successful and happy artist, and the other one is the not so successful and suffering artist. It's quite interesting that they are changing brightness at the moment. So let's take a look at Euronome in Greek mythology. In the earliest versions before Zeus's time, she is the great goddess of all things. So she's kind of like a creator goddess who emerged from the ocean. So as opposed to Gaia, who is the Mother Earth, who is an earth goddess, a creator goddess linked to the earth, and Euronome is linked to water. And she emerged from the ocean and created with her dance the cosmos. So it's a very beautiful myth, I think. And in later versions, she becomes Zeus's lover, or third bride, as they usually name her. And she's the mother of the three Cherites, or goddesses of grace and beauty. So this is what it is linked to. And when Hera throws out the newborn Hephaestus, she and the sea goddess Thetis rescue him and actually provide for him for 9 years. So she's a mothering goddess, but from the sea, from the ocean, from the waters, from the emotions viewpoint. And if we leave out now Mars and Neptune, but still keep Uranus because it's at 24 degrees, we will get a mystic rectangle. And here is it. You can see that with the Sun-Moon opposition, we also have a Uranus-Juno opposition. And the opposition itself is a lot of strife and clash. But when two oppositions form a mystic rectangle, these clashes become inward energies, and the surrounding sextiles and trines are dissolving them or have dissolving them. And with the Uranus-Juno position, if you look at it from the personal level, of course, it could mean some clashes with your spouse or with your significant other. But on a more universal level, it's clashes within alliances, or covenants are falling apart, or actually we are reconsidering or renewing from a different perspective how we look at our allies. So that's what it is. And as you can see, I only enumerated, actually I added Uranus for some reason. I just, if you want to look at the other celestial objects here, you will find them 2 slides earlier. But we are going to only look at Juno, the official wife, or the wife of Jupiter. So she's the queen of heaven, the mother of gods. And you have Narcissus, Apollo, Veritas, and Attila. Narcissus, love yourself. Apollo, the sun god of the Greeks. Veritas, not truth, know the truth. And Attila, the fighter, the leader energy, the leader archetype. And here are the angles at 0 degrees. And whenever you have this, whenever there's a space-time moment that has this cardinal ground cross, you can translate it or interpret it as some sort of huge major crossroads. So this could be interpreted that in many respects, and in the Western world, in the Anglo-Saxon, Western Atlantic world, with the Atlantic powers, this is going to be a huge crossroads. And with the nodes involved, although they are already Pisces and Virgo, it has this auspicious moment. But there is in the London chart, there's also a crown at 1 and 0 degrees, plus the nodes which are at the moment at 29 degrees 37, so they are quite fast at the moment, retrograding quite fast, in quite at a much greater speed than usual, because they usually, at an average, they retrograde only 3 minutes of an arc, and they just changed that signs a day and a half earlier. So this is it. And there's this crown. Recently we have a couple of crowns. There's so many celestial objects at 0, 1 degree. First and foremost of this was the nodes in recent days and last 2 weeks, and of course Pluto and Sedna. Sedna is creation through dissection, and Pluto is the great transformer, and Astrea, the karma breaker, just moved into Sagittarius, and with this there's this beautiful crown. As I said, the nodal axis is energetically out of it, but of course by degree it's right there. So again, the crown jewel is Pluto, transformation, and the Sedna-Pluto trine has been there since 2023, and will still be there in 2025, I think 2 more times. This is a trine that was becoming exact 7 times, and even there was an 8th back in 2022 when it was almost there. Just, I think there was 1 minute of an arc before exactness. I don't remember which of the 2 celestial objects turned around, but one of them did, and so it didn't become exact. So here are the transcendental objects of this particular crown. On the ascendant south node, you have Cyrus, Kagara, and the super galactic center. You met Cyrus yesterday, the first emperor of the Persian Empire, the emperor creating figure of and he was a very smart guy and a very good benign person, because he actually spoke about the fact that all people are created equal. He let go the slaves of Babylon when he conquered Babylon, and he even put his decrees on a cylinder, on a on a clay cylinder, and these decrees could have been, I mean, 250,000, no, sorry, 2,500 years ago. They are truly humanistic and welfareistic rules. So he was really an interesting figure. And Kagara and the supergalactic center, so they are again the same as 2 days ago or a day ago. On the descendant north-node conjunction, you have Ambrosia, the food of the gods, Borasisi, who is a tyrant, and Sheat, which is the beta star of Pegasus. So again, you have the same exact archetypes then with the nodes. On Pluto, you have Neit, another creator goddess. This is the Egyptian proto-creator goddess, and Altair of Aquila, which again will be there with Pluto now for a couple of more weeks. And this is one of the shaman stars. And on Astrea, you have Sophia, the goddess of wisdom, Sato, toxic emotions, and Toliman, Alpha Centaur, which is one of the main healing birds of Chiron's wounds. And on Sedna, again, the same things, more Somnus, Pelion, and the Pleiades, which we enumerated 100 times already, so I'm not going to repeat myself. Go back to any of the previous videos. They have been there and they will be there for quite a while. So this is the full moon. It's not a nice full moon. It's a very harsh, militant, cruel, I would say. Our situation is very funny here in Europe, because Zelensky, who is of course fighting for his nation and is trying to assure that he's winning. He's not winning, of course, because you can't win against Russia, which is huge, much more 10 times bigger than it. Has unlimited sources of power and natural resources as well. Unfortunately, it has never been a potential. And unless there is really a full-blown third world war, but I don't know who is going to fight. I really would like to see who they are going to send there. If you ask anyone here in Europe, would you die for your own country? Even those who are patriotic would say, well, no. The young people don't even know what patriotism is. But if you ask them, would you die for Europe? They laugh at you. They laugh at you. No one will fight. It's ridiculous. They actually, the powers that be, killed the fighting spirit and patriotism in the last 20, 30 years. There's no one to fight this war. So it will end. And the problem is that every war has its moment when it actually becomes non workable, and it becomes a zero or a negative game plan. And this is where Zelensky is now. And he decided not to renew the transit for the Russian gas, which actually gives his country 1 billion euros. He's losing 1 billion euros. But he can easily use it because you guys in England or in the United States or we here in Europe will pay for it. That's what he thinks. But in the meanwhile, gas prices went up 20%, which everyone will suffer here in Europe, and we are in the middle of winter. So on the one hand, I understand how desperate he is. On the other hand, I don't think this is a decent behavior in light of the fact that everyone in Europe had him and is still having him. So it's a nasty business in any sense, and I really can hope that it will somehow change. And of course, everyone has great hopes for the Trump administration. Trump is a businessman. He will look at the world events, world deals as a deal, as a business deal. So he will be a lot more rational than the either the Democrats or anyone there in the deep state. For that, I commend him, and I'm hoping that it will be better, certainly much better than the 4 years of the Biden era, for instance, for us Hungarians or for us in Europe. But he's a businessman. He doesn't really care for Europe. So everyone who thinks that he's going to somehow be good to us, forget it. He's not going to be good to us. Okay, so anyhow. Um, let's hope for our own energies to somehow survive. And this is what I wish you for this particular full moon, which again is not a very nice one. It's really a nasty one. Be well. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.